What's up, folks? We've got a date to announce on the 6th of April, this upcoming 6th of April. Giannoletti and I will be at the Montreal Arts Center and Museum. It's going to be a live taping of the podcast. It's Easter weekend. It's going to be on the Thursday before Easter, the day before Good Friday, so it's like a Friday. Come through. We'll have a good time. We'll talk some shit. Live taping of the pod in front of a room full of the bros. This event will sell out. It's got a very limited capacity. We've already got a very limited number of tickets currently still available. But if you're a listener and you're in Montreal, get on this now. Don't delay. Get ahead of it because we have a few friends that are asking us if they want to come through. We're not letting them buy it until some listeners have an opportunity to buy it. So, yeah, get the ticket now while it's still hot, while it's still available. 6th of April, we'll have a good time. Come meet us face to face. If you're a fan of the show and you're local, we'd love to see you. We'd love to see you in person. So again, April 6th, if you're in Montreal, live taping of the podcast. First time ever. We'll be doing the pod basically in front of a room full of people. It'll be a fucking vibe. It'll be fun. And yeah, I mean, you'll get to be in a room full of other people that enjoy this, this shit show. So come through April 6th. Giannoletti and I will be recording the podcast live. We've got a cool little announcement as well in the works. So come through. Hope to see you there. This iteration of the podcast features returning guest Andy Haynes. He was in town last week for a gig at the Comedy Nest. He was on tour, and we got to hang out a little bit. I got to take him around the city to a few points of interest, a few points of cultural interest, a few mob joints per his request. I don't think it disappointed. He was very riveted. I'd say he was fascinated by some of the spots that I took him to. He was like a deer in the headlights. He was like a kid in a candy store. It was like nothing he'd ever seen before. He stuck out like a sore thumb, and it was great to see. He had a camera vlogging the whole thing. People were looking at him like he was a fucking unicorn. And we had a good time. I think he learned a lot. So this pod is a little bit of a debrief. We had a good little hang after that whole excursion last week. So enjoy. You can get Andy at I'm Andy Haynes. Check him out. Funny comic who I appreciate for having given me the time of day. Good guy. Arsenal fan. Big football fan. Can't pronounce Italian names for shit. But he's a good dude. And we had a good hang. So without further ado, let's get into it right now. Enjoy my little hang last week with Andy on this week's iteration of the pod. And again, get your tickets for April 6th. There really aren't a lot to begin with. It's a very intimate room, so there aren't a ton left. So get them now. Get them now while you can if you're in Montreal. Hope to see you there. Let's go.
But I think a lot of guys starting comedy listen to Rogan's kind of wisdom. But it's more, I don't know, it's so bizarre to think about.
It is weird to call him a, Jesus, all right. Living in the lap of luxury right now. Dude, and I'm not a tall guy, too. Holy fuck.
Yeah, don't.
So poorly conceived.
Quit bouncing. I think you got something loose on yours. I'm hearing like a little bit of a. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I do.
What is that?
It's just the wire not cooperating. Let's do this. That'll be better.
Let's do this. The whole pod.
Fuck. Let's play like African drums. Holy shit.
Oh man.
Get it right in a sec. I know what we'll do here.
Okay. I want you to keep this in, okay?
Is that what you want?
Nah, I mean it's your podcast.
We'll see. Yeah, we could maybe do that.
No, but the thing with Rogan is I think Rogan is a cultural icon that happens to be a comedian, but he's so much more than that in the sense that he's an MMA guy. He's kind of a masculinity
archetype.
Yeah, he's an archetype. I was about to say straw man, but I don't think that's the right term. I'm not anti-Rogan. I mean, I think a lot of the culture that he promotes and philosophies that he espouses are kind of ignorant, but I like him as a person. He's always been extremely nice to me.
The cool thing about that is, I mean, he would be willing to sit down and hear you out. That's what's like awesome about him is he'll be like, you think it's ignorant? Okay, well, why? What do you think? And then he'll be like, interesting. Let's talk, which you got to give, credit to. He's a mature human being, right? Like it's.
Yeah, I think that's the weird thing is like there's so little dialogue between the sides. Like I'm a pretty far left guy. I definitely have some beliefs that would be like the actual left would like gawk at. They'd be like, oh, you're a bigot.
How could you?
But I think generally I'm a pretty far left guy, but it's so hard to talk with anybody from the left about opposing thoughts because they, there's kind of become this like whole theory that you're like any kind of conversation is platforming, right? Like you're giving a voice to these kind of things,
or co-signing.
Yeah,
because we're talking about it, we both agree on we both like say I come out and say I like the Nazis, and you're sitting down saying I want to understand why you would say something so insane. And you're like, that's a crazy thing to fucking say. Let's talk about it. I want to understand what's going on in your brain. It's like you even just sitting down and tabling a discussion with me is almost co-signing it. Well, why would you give a platform to that guy? Suppose I'm coming on your podcast and I say, I love it.
Yeah.
That, it's a crazy thing to say, which could get clipped now out of context. But I'm leaning into it now. Say I were to come on your podcast and say, I love the Nazis. You'd be like, whoa, that's crazy. Let's talk about that. Why would you say that? You might, that's a bit of an extreme one. You might, where you might say, okay, this guy's like, I can never take this guy seriously again.
I don't know.
Maybe maybe you would say, what the hell? Well, why? Why would you, how do you even get to that point? It's like just engaging in that discussion and not saying, whoa, what? Cut. Like instead of saying, no, well, hold on. Can't have that. Can't have those words out there. Instead of saying that and saying, well, why? It's almost like that's a problem. Like just being willing to engage.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've noticed that I think you're alluding to that I don't necessarily disagree with about how just sometimes having a conversation is problematic. It's like, what why? You don't even no one's even saying they agree or don't. We're just talking about stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Like one of the things I'll say with Rogan is I don't know how often he pushes back on somebody like a Jordan Peterson or somebody like that who kind of has this like archaic kind of really like in the politest terms like antiquated classical view of masculinity and femininity where he doesn't really go like because he agrees with him I think for the most part so it's like
maybe he does sometimes say, well, why do you think that? I think he does ask qualifying questions.
Yeah. And I mean, he's also like, the biggest problem with it is I don't see this responsibility in media to be like people's parents and teachers and things like that. Like I do think that like there's certain things that we shouldn't really support as a society, but if people are engaging them right, then it reflects on the society, not the person.
Yeah.
Like people like Man United. Like there's people out there that like that team.
Yeah.
And they support it and they wear their jerseys around. And I, as an Arsenal supporter, would say that's wrong.
That's offensive.
Yeah. What you're doing is bandwagon, Yankee loving, capitalism at its worst.
Well, the thing is, there are a lot of people who never really get beyond that school of thinking and actually do apply that to football as well.
Yeah.
And I know this because I was a kid once and I remember thinking that way and being like, fucking Inter.
Yeah.
I could never date someone from an Inter family.
Yeah.
They're animals.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Inter.
Yeah.
Fuck them, And I would have this like loop, this feedback loop that would reinforce it because on Twitter and in stadiums, you'd have a bunch of grown men going, fuck you, fucking animals. Oh, you're not, you half human pieces of shit. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
But it's like reinforcing it. You're like a little kid and you see adults doing this too. And you're like, oh, I guess this makes sense. There are a lot of other people who feel this way. Let's keep feeling that way. And now I'm like, okay, well, that's a little much. So that's a little intense, but there are some people who legitimately feel that way. That's what's crazy. So it's no different in politics, right? It's almost like that it comes from the same part of the brain. And there's that problematic light again. But
it's your halo, dude.
Yeah.
No, wait, hold on. So
you're just like the left-wing devil.
Yeah.
We should abort the babies. And I'm just here like, well, hold on.
I should be wearing devil horns.
Yeah.
And you should have your Il Duce fresco behind you.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, man. We got a lot of things to debrief you on.
Real quickly,
we'll get to that. But.
So I know, the Classico in Italy. Do you call it the...
It's called the Derby d'Italia, the Derby of Italy.
Yeah,
but
it's AC Inter, right?
No, it would be Juve and Inter is the Derby d'Italia, but
What's AC Inter?
AC Milan and Inter Milan is
The
called
Milan.
the Derby della Madonnina, and the Madonnina is just like the Virgin Mary that sits atop that church in Piazza del Duomo in Milan.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you ever been to Milan?
Mm-mm. What about?
Well, you know the church I'm referring to, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's like a giant Mary that sits atop it. She kind of overlooks the city. So it's the Derby of Milan. Calling it the Derby of the Madonnina is like calling it the Derby of Milan. It's a big game, but it's more of a friendly one because there are a lot of people like you go to work with, you know, a bunch of people, and half of them might support Inter, half of them might support Milan. And from what I've been led to understand, it's pretty like it's like a brotherly rivalry. You know, you might have a brother who supports one club, a brother who supports the other cousins in the same family. It's not like entire sects of the population that are like, we support one club, and another entire sect of the population that supports another along, say, political lines, which you see in like other cities.
Who's Roma's alternate? Who's Roma's?
Lazio.
Lazio, yeah.
Lazio. Yeah, they're a little more far right.
Lazio's the state, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's the province of Lazio. So you have a little bit more like following in the region around Rome, but they're both based out of Rome. So I think from what I understand, they kind of follow more political lines. Like in some other cities, it tends to follow a socioeconomic
Yeah.
shit.
That's like River Plate. and
Yeah,
Boca.
that's the best example there is. I actually was trying to avoid reverting to that because I always revert to Buenos Aires and Boca River, which is like the clearest socioeconomic divide between clubs in the same city.
Yeah.
That exists less in Italy. It's a little bit more political generally. A lot of other derbies aren't necessarily between clubs in the same city, but clubs that are nearby that are very polar opposite economically. Politically. Like
What about-
like Livorno's a very far left like communist club, and they actually have beef with a lot of the far right ultras
Yeah.
of other clubs. So even though they may not be like in the same city or even necessarily that close, there's tension there because
Yeah.
of political shit. It's more political in Italy than it is anything else.
Who's Napoli's rival?
The
The entire league.
yeah, the entirety of Italy. Because I mean, Napoli are kind of like the team of the South, so they kind of view every northern club as being problematic. But fundamentally, they hate Juve the most because they're like the ultimate like symbol of like northern industrial power, and by extension, like people kind of sticking their nose up to Naples. But also like in terms of proximity, Roma. It's called the Derby del Sole, so like the Derby of the Sun, because it's a very it's
Yeah.
the West Coast is very
Sunny.
yeah, it's very sunny. Yeah, I was thinking of a more clever way of saying sunny because I'm a fucking loser. But yeah, but it's close. Like there's a couple 100 kilometers between them, like 200 kilometers.
Yeah, I remember the
100
train was
kilometers.
only like 3 hours.
Very
when I
short.
seen
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So that's a big game. Yeah.
I was just right by Torino. I was in Chamonix. I could have just taken I could have skied down one hill.
Yeah, you were telling me you're in Switzerland and Chamonix in France.
Yeah, but they're all right there.
Right,
It's like
yeah.
where all their corners meet.
Yeah.
And I was like surprised at how close I was to Torino, and I thought of you because of Juve.
Yeah, the guy who didn't even know who scored for Juve yesterday in the
It's
Europa
okay.
League.
It's okay. It's been a rough year.
It has been a rough year, you know.
I've checked
but
out
we
of-
need that. We need that, you know, just
Yeah.
because when we do better, it's like, hey, this is cool now, you know. Like Arsenal haven't won a title in almost 20 years, and you're probably jonesing right now more than you would have if, like, you know, you had won many consecutive titles in the last few years, and this was going to be the nth more, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What year did you guys get relegated for all the corruption stuff?
2006.
And then how many years did it take you to get back?
We came right back up.
Oh, you just got sent to B.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought you guys
No,
had
it
to
wasn't.
start over.
No, it wasn't a whole Phoenix thing. It was one relegation. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A couple clubs got relegated. That was a dark. Yeah, I mean, we haven't really recovered as a league. I say we collectively, Italian football haven't really recovered. You might argue, and it's a weird point to make because we made 2 Euro finals and won one, but you might argue that it's kind of been a really like. You could argue that it's been the reason for the downfall of Italian football because we've missed a couple World Cups in a row now. But the weird thing was the national team never really was an issue until a few years ago. It was like club football's really taking a hit, but Italian footballers are still performing at top levels, and to an extent they still are. They just had a really bad string of luck in qualifying, but
I think you also,
you could see people making the case for it. That's all. I'm sure like if you looked at it from sorry to interrupt you, but I'm sure that if you looked at it from like a youth development POV and how Juve's resources were affected, I'm sure there are some people that would come out and make that argument. But I don't know how true that is. But
I don't think they've ever bridged the gap from. So I think, just looking at it from the United States, and I think Canada kind of defaults to this, which is that, and let's just say the globe, but the EPL, I think, has sucked the air out of every other league. And the Champions League represents those leagues, but like that's the most that most Americans are going to see of any Serie A team, right? And so,
by and large, that's largely because of Serie A's shitty ability to put themselves in front of the faces of those people. Because La Liga
it's just because of the Latino population. That's the market.
What I was going to say about La Liga is that they've done a better job of doing it, but I think it's because of the power of the couple of big clubs that really stand above all the others. That's definitely true. But there are clubs in Italy that are like an echelon above every other one that have global appeal, which people could, you could see having a lot of interest in if just packaged and bundled right and put in front of them. Italy's done a really poor job of getting seen by people around the world, I think, because in the 90s, Italy was all you could see in a lot of parts of the world, even in England. I mean, Italian football grew in England in mystique and shit because it was just on TV. Like, just being in front of people was all it took. Now you need more than that. You need broader global strategies that.
Well, I just think more than anything.
And the Prem's done that better than anyone.
The Prem it dominates everything as far. They have so much more. They have more money, I think, than all of the leagues combined in Europe.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Like maybe Spain, just because of Real and Barca.
But to the point now that being in the championship is like, a really tantalizing position to be in. It's like, fuck, we're really close. We're within striking distance of all that money. We're like,
Where do you guys sit in the league now with the deduction?
I think 8th.
And
I don't know why I covered my eyes there, but
it hurt. Yeah. It hurt to say it.
No, I was reflecting. I think it's 8th or 9th.
And you guys have 6? Wait, no.
15 points were deducted, and they could be reinstated. It's a fucking Machel.
I wish they would do it to City, because then we could just walk away with the league. You heard about that they were going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and you know why that would work is because it would just demoralize them completely. But Pep would probably tell them. Pep's a psycho. He would just say, You keep fucking fighting. That's what you do. You keep fighting. I don't care. We fight for this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a bit of an Arab.
I liked it.
An Arab Pep.
Well, they're all from the same, kind of region.
Yeah.
You're part of that too.
Yeah, we're all the same the same sub-Aryan fucking.
Well, no, I mean group. It's like it's so weird to me that you guys differentiate like a Tunisian and an Italian when you guys live like a couple hundred kilometers apart.
Well, you know who doesn't do that is Tunisians. They love saying,
"We're just
you're You're Italian. I'm Tunisian."
Yeah.
And it's like they're bombing. They're just like, come on. And Italians are just like, get the fuck out of here, you fucking monkeys. But you
monkeys. Guys have to have some of the same blood, though.
100%.
Yeah.
But in Italians' mind, what are you doing? You fucking get out of here. Aren't you embarrassed?
Yeah.
What are you from, Tunisia? What's the matter with you? What the fuck? What do you think you are? You embarrassed? You're from Tunisia? Who's ever heard of Tunisia?
Identity politics, Sebastian Maniscalco.
Yeah, no. If you gave like a Sicilian guy a 23andMe,
do you know
he'd come up partially Egyptian, probably Tunisian.
Do you know Sebastian's what part of Italy his family's from?
I think his father's from Sicily.
Oh wow.
Or his father's parents. I don't know where.
I think that's a go-to though. A lot of times, like an Italian will just be like, "Yeah, Sicily," because it sounds good.
Yeah, it's true. It does sound badass. That's got a nice fucking twang to it, man. Oh, Sicily, I'm Sicilian.
Yeah,
but it's often true, But like, here's the thing: like, there's so many of them came over from that part of the country because it was so tough to live there, and
it's like a desert. In the middle.
Yeah. They were really left to their own devices by the government for a while, and a lot of a lot of these people came over like early 20th century to the U.S. before a lot of positive change occurred there. So I think a lot of people can trace lineage back to Sicily, but it's like if almost everyone's got like a trickle down. Like if I'm an Italian person who's born in the United States in 97.
Mm-hmm.
And my ancestors came over 100 years ago, and through some, I don't know, through some reason, somehow, everyone I've ever fucking, everyone I'm the offspring of, it just has only ever chosen to procreate with other people who have lineage going back to the Italian peninsula. The odds are, so I mean, that's a weird way of saying, if I'm 100% Italian, whatever the fuck that means, in quotes, there's a chance that there's going to be a Sicilian relative in there at some point.
Yeah.
Halo effect.
You're so you just like you need like a arm's length of clearance because you're so Italian. You just speak so much with your hands.
No, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe a lot of guys lean into it. I don't know. But it is true that so many people just did come from there. It's not false. Like I have a great grandfather that's from Sicily. I'd never bring that up, but it's not false. Like I was telling you before that my grandparents came over in like the 60s.
Yeah,
which is true. But like I have a great grandfather that was here at an earlier point in time. That's all. He was born in Sicily, and he came over here and met my great grandmother, who's from another region, from Abruzzo. They had a kid. My grandmother who married my grandfather, who's also from Abruzzo. So like I just instead of being weird and saying, yeah, I'm an eighth Sicilian and I got 3/8 from Abruzzo, I just say, my mom's from Abruzzo, my dad's from Calabria, which is not false. It oversimplifies it a little bit, but there's a lot of Sicily that kind of permeates, or infects our blood, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah,
it's in there somewhere.
I don't know anything about any of my people.
Well,
I know we're Scotch-Irish.
You have a look on your face when you say that where you're like, you look so regretful.
Yeah,
you
it's devastating. I just realized I'm a man without a country.
I don't know if well, that's kind of.
I'm so jealous of you. You got to say things
you're American.
I can't be like, like I'm not like, my great grandfather came from Killarnock or something like that,
I don't know if the camera picked that up, but that was really funny because you looked at me and you're like, he was this long face. Yeah. I just realized,
sad about it.
You know how like a 3-year-old might look at you sometimes if they drop something?
Yeah.
What?
It just occurred to me. It just occurred to me that I have no culture.
But that's kind of fine. I mean, you do. Your family's from somewhere. We're all from somewhere.
No.
No, we are.
I'm from Seattle. We got nothing. We have salmon, which we stole from the Native Americans.
But that's pretty standard for a lot of Americans. You could just say, I'm American. Isn't there something nice to saying, I don't know where my fucking ancestors are from. I'm just a born and bred American. It's almost like a lot of Italians are caught in between that. Italian Americans I'm referring to when I say Italians, because they have this weird like patriotic kind of attachment to a country that they know very little about in reality. But at the same time they don't want to quite let go of it, but they also are very clearly American. I mean, in a lot of ways, very Republican. Fuck yeah, I don't know. This is America. What are you doing over here? It's like they forget that like they're the offspring of immigrants. They're like, what the fuck? We got all these fucking foreigners. What's the problem over here? It's like that's a very American attitude. It's like just lean into that.
Yeah.
But they can't because that's not their identity. They're kind of caught in limbo between, both. You were just in Rome a few months ago. How would you describe that compared to New York Italians? Give us advice. Not advice. Give a summary as a layman. Who kind of is looking at it from a third party point of view. You're like, hey, listen, I'm nor here nor there. I'm not Italian. I'm not Italian American. I'm just observing both.
Well, I mean, it's obviously like there's the tropes, right? There's like anywhere you go in Europe, really, like in Italy, especially, you're gonna see guys that like have fake tans and fucking look all like.
Be surprised. A lot of those are probably real.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like they might be like whatever. They're looking. How would I say it? Just
they
like
look the way
quintessential.
Yeah. Well, for a reason because it's true.
Yeah, but then I would say that there's so much more. Like it's weird to me. Like the aggressive Long Island Jersey Italian, you don't see that as much. You don't see the like. I feel like the machismo is like softened with kind of a like.
There's a bit more of a BDE to it.
There's like some femininity to it.
Yeah.
There's like a grace to it.
And it's like I'm so okay with that. I'm not insecure about it. You know, what do we, it's like in that sense. It's very big dick energy. I got nothing to prove,
Yeah.
Whether there is a correlation to dick or not, it doesn't matter. It's that energy. It's hey, come here. Let me whisper something to you. Very softly spoken. It's a little more subtle.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that we don't get as much in America from like the Italian American sense is like the kind of like there's none of none of the Italian Americans embrace like the craftsmanship, or like, you know, you go to like a little like deli in Rome and they just specialize in cheese, and the old guy's like, you got to try it, you know, and it's like very like he's soft and he's like a professional just of this one cheese, you know. We don't really have that in the States. You might go to a cheese shop in Little Italy where you get the same kind of vibe, but it's like, and also like, you know, Italian Americans for the most part aren't embracing the opera, Renaissance art, you know, all that stuff that we go to Italy for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair.
I mean, they love to put like a Donatello statue in their front yard or whatever. Not Donatello, Virgin Mary. Whatever.
Sure. I think that you try to formulate this in a way that's succinct. I think that the way that a lot of Italian Americans, I've talked about this on stage before. I'm actually trying to work this idea out. Maybe this will help me just talking about it out loud now. There's a weird pride that comes with very like lowbrow stuff.
Yeah.
Ferrari,
Yeah.
Da Vinci.
Yeah.
And Da Vinci, not that Da Vinci's lowbrow, but it's like, it's a very easy thing to say. You don't have to just, instead of, they cling to names. A lot of names. Ferrari, Fiat, brand, the Azzurri.
Yeah.
You know. Whereas in Italy, it's like they don't really think about it that much. There's not a lot of,
And there's also like,
it's less in your face. It just is. It just, they don't have to talk about it. It's just reality. It's all around you. I know, you know, what do I got to talk about? How great this is. I got to talk about the architect who fucking built this church. You know, I gotta lecture to you about how Italian architects revolutionized the aesthetic of European design in the 1600s. No, it's just around us. You know, and that, is dichotomy the right word? Like the dichotomy between like Italian insanity and then the beauty of it is also kind of.
you know, did you see White Lotus this year?
No, I haven't seen it yet. By the way, is dichotomy
Yeah, dichotomy,
like,
the juxtaposition.
Yeah, it's kind of what makes Italian society interesting too. It's aesthetically beautiful, but it's kind of like it doesn't function in a lot of ways. There's a lot of
Kind of brutish.
yeah.
There's like but I don't know. There's like a simplicity to it that I really enjoyed, like Rome especially. And I feel like probably if I would see any other part of the country, I'd be like, what I really like is it is very, it's like agrarian, right? So that's like, it's people that they come from farmers and craftsmen and other kind of things like that. And obviously there's all sorts of economy there. But then on top of that, they have these things that we consider refined, right? So you might meet like a guy who's like a sheep farmer, but he's still going to be able to tell you like whatever the fucking Tosca opera is or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the culture. The weird thing though is
Education system is much better there too. I think it is in a lot of Europe.
Yeah,
From what I've understood. I don't know about the UK, but I think like Mediterranean Europe, it doesn't mean that they're highly functioning necessarily, but I think the Spanish, Italian, French education system, much higher level of education that you get like in like high school.
yeah,
More humanist, more well-rounded.
more art driven, I think, philosophical.
I mean, partially. They even teach math better. They just do a better job of actually making sure kids fundamentally understand math. They examinate kids differently. Like in exams, they'll have oral exams. You get up and you explain shit. Instead of just taking tests and memorizing stuff, they'll say, describe this. Let's have a discussion. It's interesting.
Can I ask, as a Southern Italian,
Yes.
how do you become a supporter of a Northern team?
It's pretty easy. I mean, you just have to have ties to Italy, passing interest in the league. Then you watch it. Who's good?
Oh,
You
so
know,
it's not like a family thing. It's
In
not
my
like
case, it wasn't, because my father was less of a football guy. He enjoys it, but he never grew up with it because his father wasn't much of a football guy either. That's all. You know, my grandfather on my mom's side was a big sport guy, but he actually kind of like developed an affinity for American sports. So he loves the Niners and the Giants and the
weird.
San Francisco Giants, Chicago Blackhawks, and he likes soccer, but more in passing because he came over here when he was rather young. And because he was born in, you know, the 30s during World War II, there was no football. So it's not like he grew up with an absence of it for like 6 years. So it's not like it was like the only shit that was going on that was like entertainment, you know, in society. Like he just didn't have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he kind of like fell in love with sports over here. That's just his own unique life and experience that's a little different. There are a lot of other people who
So you latched
have
onto it,
family that like
searching
club.
for an Italian identity.
Maybe I think it's just liking the Azzurri and then seeing who was playing for them. So for me, it was like Pirlo, and so I could have gone Milan. I almost did, but I didn't. I went Buffon, Del Piero.
You know my favorite Italian soccer
And
players?
then by the way, sorry, and then when I was like 14, Pirlo came over to Juve, and I was when I really, and they were doing well at the time, and I was like, man, like this is my team, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My favorite Italian football player right now is it? I'm gonna butcher it. I think it's Chiesa
Chiesa.
for
Chiesa?
for Napoli.
Oh, fuck. Excuse me.
Chiesa?
What?
Chiasso?
Are you talking about Kvicha Kvaratskhelia? The Georgian guy?
No. This guy's pure Italian. Let me look his name up so that I don't sound like a fucking idiot.
Plays for Napoli?
Yeah. I like Napoli.
You
'Cause
talking?
I like El Chucky too.
Who?
Chucky, the Mexican player.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
You're not talking about Giacomo Raspadori, are you?
I don't think so.
Dude, Napoli don't have many Italian players at the moment. That's actually what's weird. Like they don't have a ton of. They have like Di Lorenzo, their captain, Alex Meret, the goalkeeper, and those are pretty much their only two starters that are Italian.
No, come on. Where is this guy?
While you look it up, let me just say I'll add to this. I mean, there are a lot of people. The thing about Juventus in particular, and the reason that the biggest game in Italy is called the Derby d'Italia between Juve and Inter is because they're the two most supported clubs in Italy.
Okay.
So that's relevant because, listen, my father's family's from Cosenza in Calabria. Currently, they're in dead last place in Serie B. There are a lot of people in Cosenza that like that club and that would like to see them do well. But ultimately, they didn't grow up loving them because it's not glorious to watch a club in the third division when you turn on the TV on a Saturday night and you don't see them, but you see a club in Northern Italy on TV and it's Juventus. And it's fucking Del Piero who plays for the national team, who's like one of the biggest stars, who's in the paper all the time, who goes on TV. You're just gonna skew that way, you know. So if you don't have a big club in your city, you're gonna tend to kind of just pick something arbitrarily. It's often been Milan, Inter, Juve. Juve and Inter seem to be the two most supported ones in the country. Tons in the south. In Calabria, it's stupid. I mean, you go to any town, it's Juve. Milan. You'll have Juve towns, you'll have Milan towns, Inter towns. You have some that are like
really?
50-50. Yeah, my town is very split. A lot of Inter actually in the town. I have a cousin who loves. I have a few cousins who love Juve in the town where we're from.
I messed it up.
That's
He's
like
a Juve player.
Chiesa.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was right the first time. I'm rarely wrong on this sort of thing.
I like that guy. He's good.
Yeah,
he's got a very subdued flash to him. It kind of reminds me of Messi.
Yeah, that's a good call. He'll never be the player he was, but I know what you mean because he's got the boyish look too. The shaves, no beard.
But he's a solid. Just like he retains the ball, he can dribble at high speed, and
that's a good point too. Yeah, he does. That is something that Messi is very good at, uniquely so.
Yeah,
I mean, he's electric. But
what happened? He got an injury.
He tore his ACL last year. He's back now. He hurt himself.
Oh, but he's not the same.
The other day, what's up?
He's not the same anymore.
No, I think he's doing all right. I mean, he still has the same ability, but he's not really gotten into the groove that well this season. But he's not been back for very long.
ACL
he just recently
is huge.
Got back. He just recently got back too. Yeah. He's fine. He tweaked a fucking knee the other day, and people are losing their minds. I think it's fine, but that's the thing, man. Yeah, anytime you fucking hurt an ACL, it's like
You'll never be the player you were.
I don't know if that's true. I just think there's always like a fear. Like anytime I feel pain, it's what the hell's going on? Everyone sweats a little bit. It's like once it happens once, it's like we're almost just all waiting for it to happen again because we all remember these horror stories of a few unfortunate fuckers that just get like riddled by the same couple of injuries all the time. I don't understand how that happens biologically. Like, is it just bad luck or do some people just have shitty ligaments? It's crazy.
I think it's got to be biological. I mean, because think about...
Like, I've never gotten hurt growing up playing. And guys I was playing with would get hurt all the time. I would never get hurt.
Yeah,
what's the difference between us? We're playing the same level, experiencing the same contact.
I've seen the medic staffs, the physio staffs now for Prem League teams.
Yeah.
And I've been up close, seen their rooms, seen their facilities. Any team that's in the top flight of any European league is going to have professional, masseuses, physical trainers, therapists, nutritionists. They're going to have on hand like MRI machines to video people's, ligaments and things like that. And they're going to be taking supplements and things like this. So it's like at that point, it's going to come down to how your body is made and luck.
I think luck must have a part of it, but when the same guy injures like the same knee 3 times, it's like
I think once you injure it,
God just might have gone out for a smoke break on that one. You know,
once you injure it, it's because I have bad knees. I blew up my knees skiing, and they were never the same. And I was 18.
That's the most fucking white guy thing I've ever heard in my life. I blew out my knee skiing.
Yeah, I'm pretty white.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys can see.
So what? You don't even know where you're from. It's like
I know. Well, I do kind of.
That's not a very white thing to do. Like to be like, oh, I know exactly where my ancestors are from. We're from fucking like Spain. It's like I don't know. You're really white, you know. Like I feel like there's a lot of like, you know, I don't know.
That's what's so confusing.
Like
to
the
me
white
about...
supremacist would just be like, I'm white. That's it. I don't need to know where I'm from. I don't need to know. Ain't no Spain. Ain't no Portugal. Ain't no none of that.
That's an old thing because the new white supremacists are these like Western European value kind of guys, and they're like, my family's from fucking Bavaria or whatever, the Colne Valley or some bullshit like that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, they actually are. You're right. They actually are very into where they're from.
But that's what's weird about
being Celtic or Bavarian is like, or like Scandinavian. That's like, they're like the untouchables.
Yeah,
in
I'm
that
all those
like
things.
worldview.
I'm all those things. When I took a 23andMe, it was just all those horrible white countries.
I'm seeing it.
Just sunburned. But that's what's so weird about it to me because so I was talking to my friend who's Sicilian, Matteo Lane, and I was asking him about the North, and he was like, they're basically German. Like he was like, they're all blonde and fucking, you know.
Sort of. Not really, but it's oversimplified. But yeah, I mean, he's just, he probably was like, I'm not even going to, he's like, I'm going to cut, he either was like, I'm going to cut corners and not even bother explaining it to this unrefined motherfucker.
Well, he was giving me advice on where to go. And I was like, should we go to Milan? And he was like, don't go to the north. They're all basically Swiss or Austrian or whatever. But that's what I'm saying because
it's a little, it's an easy thing to say. It's a fun thing to say because now you were inquisitive about it. You're like, what? Why? I never understood that. And you're asking me about it now. And it's true to an extent, but it's a trope.
Yeah.
You know, it's not real. Like I would argue, listen, to say they're Swiss, I think it's not that far-fetched to say that there might be some cultural similarity to people in Switzerland, among Northern Italians. But here's the thing. It's not like the Swiss are it's not like that's Scotland. The Swiss are still scumbags. Yeah. The Swiss are they're fraudsters all like through and through. They're just more refined at it. There's fraud built into the Italian DNA everywhere. It's just more refined in the north. So yeah, I guess there is a little bit more of like a brotherhood with other European countries that you're neighboring, Austria, Switzerland, France, when you're in those parts. But I think that likewise, when you're in the south of France and you're close to Italy, they're also kind of like, they're kind of like,
it's like the south of France,
those southern
too.
French people are, I don't know, they're dangerously close to Italy. They're basically Italians down there. So it's like, which one is it?
They are Italians.
Well, right. But are the southern Italians in like Marseille and Nice basically Italians? Or are the northern Italians in Liguria and near Turin basically French? Which fucking one is it?
Yeah.
You know, it's like when there's intersection, there's just a lot of corruption that kind of like just is shared, I think, by both parties. And that's okay. That's what we got to realize. There's just mutually shared corruption between both parties.
I like it.
You see how much fucking saliva I just worked up?
Yeah, you got
there?
so passionate about defending the North.
Fucking disgusting. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think that, there's something about, I don't even think it's fraud. I think it's just like
deception.
But I think it's something to do with the Mediterranean. I think it's like the quality of life is so great that you almost like, why are we worrying about all these rules? You know, like we got the beach right here. Let's go eat some fish.
It's like everything's going to be fine. We're going to do it and it's going to be fine. Yeah. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to do it. We're going to do it and you're not going to do anything about it. What's anyone going to do? What are you going to do?
We saw some of those fraudsters today. We saw some real lowlifes today at Cafe Gentile.
Yeah, well...
You see that one guy come in that was clearly just amped? He kept on banging on the table.
Didn't even notice because that's just background shit to me. I don't even fucking perceive that anymore. I'm just in my element right there. You were like, what the fuck's going on? You were perceiving everything. You had your back to the wall looking around what's going on. I gotta be like on alert at all times. I was just like, what's going on? I had my back to the door. I had no worries at all.
I can't trust these fucking dagos. I saw Godfather 1. They shot the Irish cop. I gotta be careful.
Yeah, it was funny. I took you to Mafia Row and you were like, what's going on? I didn't want it because we were near the woods, and you were like, I wanted to see the mafia shit. And I was like, no problem. I'll take you on a little safari. And when we got to like real close to our first destination, you thought I was going to drive you into the woods and
I thought you were going to whack me.
Yeah.
Because
but it does have that aesthetic. It does in the winter too. You know, it was a very very desolate
the
area.
barren pine scene of Sopranos. Is that what it's called?
The Pine Barrens. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. So we had a fun little time today. We went on a little excursion. I drove you around the city to a few points of interest, and I'd like to get your like immediate thoughts on it. I want to get, this is kind of a bit of this will be a bit of a debrief here. You know?
Yeah.
So, overarching thoughts, observations, questions you might have. So we went to Mafia Row in Cartierville in the north end of the city, where, by the way, not everyone who listens to this is in Montreal, so a lot of people won't know what this is. So I'll give a little like context, but basically it's self-explanatory. It's a street where like a bunch of mobsters who ran the outfit up here lived on, like for a number of decades. They were all family. So we went there first. I was telling you the story about how Nick Rizzuro Sr. was shot by a sniper in the woods, and I showed you the spot where it happened.
Yeah.
Then we went to Cafe Gentile
and
had lunch there to show you like the top end of the spectrum and then kind of the bottom, right? Like people that'll like the errand boys and the guys who will like, you know, the collectors, the debt collectors, where they might go on a random weekday. Yeah. You know, and you know, yeah, I mean, we drove around Little Italy. You saw the church. We couldn't get in, but you know, the one with Mussolini on the fresco. Had a cannolo.
Cannolo, that was amazing. That cannolo changed my life. I mean, I'm gonna like probably fart for the next like 5 or 10 days, but delicious.
Talk to me. So what are the overarching thoughts? Any questions you might have? Observations, I guess.
Well, you know, it's so weird to not come from like I don't come from like a place where I don't have any relationship to like a ethnic kind of enclave, you know? I'm always just an American in America. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see how different people like retain their culture, how they group, you know, like in another city. And I would say that Montreal is interesting because it seems to, and all of Canada kind of does this, where you like let people, Canada is very good about letting like immigrant populations kind of have their space. Do you know what I mean by that?
That's one way of wording it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. They also let local populations have their space. It's almost like just put everyone on a reservation. Some of them are like officially designated and some of them are naturally occurring, and we'll just let it.
No, but like you'll go to like central Alberta and there'll be like a Sikh temple, you know, and like things like that. Like,
that's what you mean.
Like you're allowed to like kind of like retain where you're from. Like you know, you don't even say like I'm an Italian Canadian. You go, I'm Italian, you know?
Right.
Because you're an Italian before you're Canadian almost.
Yeah, I'm both. But, you know, I also live here. So, you know, if I left, I think I'd say I'm a Canadian person, right? Because I think that is another very important, like, thing that defines me. But I don't know. I've never really done it. I've never lived abroad, right? If I went to the States, I don't know what I would call myself. That'd be interesting.
Just Italian, probably.
Maybe, but they'd be like,
you don't want people to think you're Canadian down there.
I don't, well, you know,
put you into a box.
But it's what I am. I mean, what happens with people? What?
We make you guys live in a certain neighborhood. It'd just be you, Phil Hanley, and Nathan McIntosh. No.
By the way, those are people who sound like they have no cultural overlap with me whatsoever. That's the thing. That's whatsoever. The thing, and that's where it's weird to say I'm Canadian, because it's like, you know, you think of Canada's large and vast.
You think of a redhead named Simon. When
something like
Canada.
that. Yeah. I don't know.
No, but
because there are very few Dagos from Canada that leave.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's it. There are very few ethnic people that will leave. Very few. I say very few. I mean, it's yeah.
I think there was something very nice about Gentile. I like, you know, the Mafia Row just looks like a suburb, and Little Italy is kind of like it's somewhat gentrified, right?
I mean, it's like the area around has been very much gentrified for sure. I mean, in the cafe, it was French around us. And,
it's very cute.
Parisian French, meaning that's Plateau. So like in the area nearby, it's the Plateau of Montreal. A lot of Parisians, a lot of French people now live there. Very hip. Like you know, kind of like a
artsy,
yeah, kind of like a Bushwick type of thing.
Yeah,
to put it into a New York lens.
But it's nicer than Bushwick. It's not like, you know, a lot of blue hair, like kind of genderless, like fairies.
Well, it's not that. Yeah, so it's not that bad. But I'm saying.
I don't mean fairies in the homophobic sense. I mean like literally people that identify as like mythical creatures.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No.
But
dragons. Yeah.
what I liked, I think Gentile was my favorite because it was just like a real like there's all like the tacky clothing sponsors. You know what I mean? Like it's all just like everything's like, you know, flared jeans with like, you know, shirts with like tattoo art on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then like everybody's real neighborhoody.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like
Yeah. I mean, it's
very accommodating too. They like, I felt like they were very good at like when I got in there and I like asked about the shirt and stuff, he's like, take your drink, sit down, got, you know, pay after kind of thing.
Yeah. Sure.
I love that. I love it. And I mean, there is something weird about Canada too, because you see these like, you know, when I think of Italian, I think of it's kind of luxurious and it's kind of, I know that a lot of Italians aren't, but you know, there's something kind of like comforting about it. But when you're in Montreal and it's all fucking icy and cold and you gotta walk through the salty, muddy snow and stuff, there's something weird. There's like a weird, you know, just the fact that you got like Italians up here who love hockey. It's just a weird.
Yeah. It's an interesting cocktail that you just wouldn't think of if, I don't know, like 100 years ago, it'd be really weird to see Italian people who speak Italian who like hockey.
Yeah.
It's just weird, you know? But of course it's going to happen, you know? Like if you go to Australia, I'm sure a lot of them love rugby. You know, a lot of them like baseball in the US. That was a thing. Just they developed an affinity for hockey here like any other person in the city. That's what's cool about Montreal is everyone kind of winds up becoming a bit of a, you know, you kind of have to grow up a hockey fan. You kind of have like an affinity to the Montreal Canadiens. Like it's just grandfathered in for me. I mean, I never talk about it on this pod, but I love them. I grew up a huge Habs fan, you know.
Yeah.
It's grandfathered in.
You went last night.
Yeah, I did. For the first time in a couple of years actually.
Who won?
Since COVID. They played the Rangers. Rangers won. Yeah.
Damn.
It's all,
fucking New Yorkers.
It's all right, you know. The worse we do, the better now. We're in a weird period right now. No, it's true. Yeah, it's true. They're doing it's fucking brutal because what they did was they were kind of like doing all right. They were 500, but then they went on like a 7-8 game losing skid, and that'll fuck you up because there's no coming back from that. But they like kind of righted the ship, so now they're right in limbo where they're not bad enough to tank, and they're like not making the playoffs, you know. But what, you know, whatever. Like, so I'm not really following them that much this year, but because I've just sort of lost interest. They've not been especially fun to watch, but like it'll always be there. It'll always be there, and it's just grandfathered in, and it's interesting because like. You know, when you immigrate somewhere, you kind of have to cling to something, to stuff, to make you feel a little more, you know, to have a sense of, you know, common interest or, you know, whatever, community with other people who may have different, you know, come from a different background to you, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what's cool about sports in particular. That's one of the few, you know, lately I've been in a real nihilistic, negative, fucking pessimistic like stage almost when it comes to sports in particular. Nihilistic's probably not the right word, but like more
I know what you're saying.
Like
yeah.
more like come on, like all right. I've almost like stuck my nose up to it a little bit, which is probably not a great, you know, thing to be internalizing while, you know, hosting a podcast that talks about Italian football. But I haven't given as much of a shit about it lately. Like the sport itself. I like watching because I just like football, but I view it as like a game. I like watching it as a game now. Like when there's two clubs that I don't support, I don't watch it because it's like, oh yeah, I'm a big Calcio fan anymore. It's like, yeah, I like football. I like playing it. And if I'm going to watch it, I just enjoy watching it play out sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and I try not to get as like pissed off and let Juve dominate my life anymore. Like when I was a kid, it would affect me more. It would piss me off more. You know, maybe part of it is maturing. I don't know. But I will say that one thing that sports does very well is, provide some kind of outlet for like people to come together. It sounds fucking corny, but yeah,
I feel you.
It's true. It's true. Like you can see. I mean, you see that in football too. And
I don't think I care about just because I've ingested so much football this year, the right kind of football, not American football.
Right. We're not animals.
That I don't care as much about American sports anymore because they can't be relegated. That whole thing has just fucked me up.
Yeah.
You're just last place.
There's no stakes.
Yeah, you're last place. Bummer. I want you to go down. I want you to have to play in the AHL.
And then when, instead of being rewarded, you're rewarded for being in last place. You get the best players. What the fuck, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, and it's like that reality in football in particular, which I like, is that there's high stakes. So when a town's team doesn't do well and they get relegated, that the whole town suffers.
Yeah,
So think about it. People have come together around this fucking club. Maybe like you come from another part of the world and you're in a neighborhood with like a bunch of other fucking people that are like newly arrived, you know, citizens or people, you know, foreigners, whatever. And it's like they all come together around this one fucking thing that's in their neighborhood. It's this club. Or maybe it's along economic lines. Everyone in this town likes that club. Rich, poor, doesn't matter. Everyone grew up with that club. Maybe you were working class, now you made money, you went to school, you still like that club, you know? And when the fucking club goes down, the whole town suffers. The church, they're sad on Sunday. They're all praying for the club to come back. Like, that gives people just some reason to fucking feel shit.
But it even goes way beyond that, because like I learned this through
This is such a pretentious conversation.
No,
but it's, you know,
it's true. I don't think most people realize this. So like I worked for this club in League Two, and they are definitely they definitely are risking being relegated, right? Mm-hmm. If they go down, they leave the EFL. They're out of the league. And they have a foundation that has a school, they have a community charter. The town is not very, like, it's a very working class town. So they're going to lose a lot of resources. They're going to lose a lot of money. Like, it literally is kind of life or death at this point. Like Wrexham, you know Wrexham? Wrexham was in the first Premier League. They were in the Premier League with Man U and Aston Villa and Leeds.
Like 1958?
I think it was the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And their stadium still seats like, I think, 30 to 40,000 people if it's full.
Wrexham?
It's pretty big.
No way.
I think it's a big stadium.
I saw it in the FA Cup. Are they still in the FA Cup right now?
No, they got knocked out last time. But
there's no way it was 40,000 people.
It's big. I know it's like 20,000 plus.
Oh,
I might be exaggerating.
Okay. Well, they are refurbishing it now. Maybe it'll look like
and
less
they're going
because
up.
They
they're
were
in first place by a lead. So they're going to be in the League 2 next year. But
I think they're refurbishing the stadium, so maybe for that reason it looked like there were less people, because I think maybe they knocked down stands or something.
It could be full of shit too.
You could be.
Glanced it.
You could be, yeah.
But a lot of these teams, like
you are a countryless motherfucker. Who the hell, you know?
Yeah,
I'm gonna take.
I would love to move to Europe.
Take a guy seriously who doesn't even know anything about his own people.
I mean, what are my people? Let's talk about it. I don't have any kind of people. I'm from Seattle, Washington. Right. We eat salmon. We drink Starbucks. We design technology.
I met you at Starbucks today.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything, but I was like, holy fuck, he really doesn't care. He doesn't care what anyone's gonna say. He doesn't care what I could say.
Where am I gonna go around here? Second cup?
No.
Am I an animal?
No, it's got to be Starbucks. I get it.
Like your family has like, culture. Like you go home and there's like probably a pasta that your grandma knows how to like.
It can be pasta tonight, yeah.
Yeah, like some shit like that.
Yeah.
My mom, it's cornbread in a fucking box that you mix chili out of or something like that. Recipes from like the Barefoot Contessa. I don't have any culture.
She used to slap, bro. You remember Ina Garten?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, she fucking. I think. Listen, I tell you what. You can say what you want about homemakers and shit. There's a value to having a woman like Ina Garten.
Of course.
I think. Listen, I think we respect a working woman. We respect a woman who wants to be, able to provide for herself if her husband is a fucking deadbeat or dies or cheats on her and whatever. Listen, it's nice to have fucking fallback and not just be like, hey, listen, I hope this guy does all right. I'm putting all my fucking eggs in his basket. But man, I mean, to be fair, Ina Garten was fucking loaded and she was a real entrepreneur, I guess. But the image she the image she put out of herself as being this homey woman. Mm-hmm. And she's bringing home the bacon. Remember her husband Jeffrey? Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, I think he worked, but I don't think he made much. I don't think he made as much money as her with her fucking business. But the impression you got was he was out working and he's coming home to a meal prepared by the Barefoot Contessa. What a name too!
Yeah,
the Barefoot Contessa.
She's just a country woman.
She's a countess. She's a Contessa. It's overtly sexual, mm-hmm. and yet there's nothing sexy about her.
It's
the Barefoot Contessa,
it's
and
maternal.
Yes. Yeah, but it's a sexy name, but she was maternal. She was maternal, and she had a terrible name. Ina's a terrible name.
I don't know.
No, you don't want to. Yeah, it was great.
But Ina sounds Bavarian, honestly.
Yeah.
She's probably one of those northern Italians.
Dude, she'd fucking...
Sneaking across the border to
Dude,
get some
Ina Garten will fucking...
Just get some schnitzel.
She'll feed you fucking till you become an ox, bro. She's fucking built like an ox, too. That's a fucking Bavarian... That's a military bomb right there.
I'll tell you what, my wife, I don't think she can boil water. I mean, it is... She's the breadwinner.
But she's very talented.
She's the breadwinner. She's very talented, very funny comic. But I don't know if I've ever eaten anything that she's cooked.
Can I tell you something? Okay, hang on. You never repeat that your wife is the breadwinner again. That implies that you do nothing.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I don't care.
But you do stuff. You're headlining the Nest here this weekend. You're on the road.
I am great. I'm doing great. I just mean that my wife is like she's a kind of a superstar. She's like she's gonna hire the Contessa.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
I married into money. Yeah. I'm not embarrassed about it.
Right.
You know?
Well, you married into more than money. You married into like conspiracy theory fucking. Mm-hmm. You married into like skull and bones.
If I cheat on her, I will die.
Yeah.
And it will not be a mystery, but it will be a mystery.
How did you handle that conversation the first time that came up, if you don't mind me asking? You know, I say if you don't mind me asking because it's a personal thing. We're talking about your wife and marriage here now, but people won't know what's going on. Who may not understand some of the the undercurrent here that we're talking about. Your wife Rosebud Baker was
she's the granddaughter of James Baker, the former Secretary of State.
Right. So okay. Now, did you know this before you started dating her? Did you meet her and then dig deep and you learned it? When did you find out about this? And did it throw you off, or did it like have the opposite effect? And was it like, whoa, what's going on? Like, this is kind of interesting. Like, this is dangerous. I'm turned on by this.
It didn't turn me off. And I don't know. It was like because I had another podcast and I actually had her on to talk about what it's like to like come from money, and also she'd had a sister pass away, so we kind of talked about her whole family dynamic.
It's terrible.
It's a long time ago. She's
Jesus
fine.
Christ.
But it was definitely interesting. I grew up, my family's very middle class, but I grew up around a lot of very wealthy people because I grew up in like a neighborhood where like all of the rich families live, but we lived in the not nicest part of it.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I was like, not used to being around uber wealthy. And it's not like she doesn't also like walk around with this air of like, I'm a rich person. You know what I mean? Some people like, she's not like a prima donna. She doesn't like, have like a clutch.
No, she's not.
So
I don't know her very well. I don't know her at all. But she strikes me as someone who feels like she can hold her own. She's like, yeah, like I'll do what I got to do. Like I don't.
Yeah, she's down to earth. So, and also, they're Texans, so it's like a different kind of rich. It didn't throw me. I think like it's interesting. I mean, I was definitely like, it was entertaining the first couple times that I like met her, that side of the family. I've never met the chief, as we call him.
Right.
But I've definitely like,
right, because she's like the black sheep. She's like the jester, right? Like, what are you doing? Like appealing to what are you trying to appeal to the masses?
But that's a funny thing is that she's probably the most successful kid out of all of those families. Out of all the grandkids and cousins and all that stuff, because she's just the killer. She's found a place where she's uber successful in stand-up comedy and writing. So I think partially what drove her was like the fact that I don't think anybody overtly didn't support her, but they were like, probably, come on, like, get a real job type of thing. Or maybe I don't really know actually, but I think a lot of what's driven her is to prove that she's just not like some spoiled brat.
Yeah. I've thought about that. Like, here's how fucked up I am. I'm so fucking dude. I think about how I'm going to raise my kids rich with money I don't even have yet. I'm like, what's going to happen? I'm petrified of having success because I'm like, well, what if this all works out? What am I going to do? Am I going to have a fucking couple of fruitcakes who sit on their ass all day? It's like, dude, it's like baked into me where I'm like, what am I going to do when I fucking succeed? I've had no success whatsoever. I sell dildos and I have no success in stand-up comedy.
The dildo king of Montreal.
I'm the dildo king of Amazon, bro. What the fuck?
Do you have dildos like in your apartment?
No. None. No.
Do your parents know what you do?
They know what I do. What are you kidding me? I'm gonna fucking let that shit in my space. Now get the fuck out of here. You take this for you. I'm gonna sell this to you. I'm not gonna fucking.
That's great.
Yeah, whatever works for you. I don't want nothing to do with this, but here, you want to fuck, you just fucking
It's like
pinching my nose and selling it to them. Like, oh, fuck you. I don't want anything to know. I don't want to know anything about
drop
this. You take
shipping
it.
is kind of the modern, this thing fell off a truck. You know what I mean?
It's kind of the opposite because you're actually, I know what you mean. It's kind of the opposite, ironically you would say that because it really is the polar opposite. Because off a truck, you're getting shit for less. Drop shipping, you're paying up the ass. I'm getting it for nothing.
That's
and
what
you
I
don't
mean.
even, yeah. Well,
That's what I mean.
Well, I'm getting it for nothing, but the person who's buying it is like, it's the opposite if it's off a truck. It's like there's a middleman.
No, but I'm saying you.
Off a truck cuts out the middleman.
You're the guy that
the
gets it off the
middleman.
truck.
Yeah.
You're getting off the truck, and
Sure.
the truck is China.
Sure. Yeah. yeah, exactly. You know? But no, like, I'm afraid that if I have success, you know, what am I going to do? I'm gonna have a kid who doesn't
You know what I do?
have any motivation, you know? Because, dude, we're dangerously close. I want to hear what you have to say, but I'm dangerously close because my grandparents came over and were immigrants, and my dad and mom were working class backgrounds, and they both went to school, and my father made a pretty, like, comfortable life for his family. So I'm the product of that, and I kind of resent that about myself. I don't resent him for giving it to me. I resent myself for being this fucking, like, piece of shit who was from this comfortable upbringing. It's like, what the, you experienced no hardship. What are you doing? I mean, as a human being, we all go through, like, existential shit, but nothing really serious, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm worried I'm soft. I'm worried that I, like, you know.
Well, you are soft in the comparison to all these other people that come over.
I know, but I wonder if that's why you're right, in comparison to new immigrants and shit, but I wonder if that's why I'm trying to do something difficult.
Well,
Like,
are you?
Career-wise, yeah. Stand-up comedy's not easy. It's cushy if it works out, but it's hard to do. Like,
But it's not. I mean, I'll tell you this: as somebody
requires-
who's worked manual labor for a decade,
It's nothing compared to
it's
fucking
nothing.
being
Whenever a
mover.
comic, I mean, it takes hard work, but like, it's hard work that also rewards you. Like, no matter how much dirt you shovel, nobody's ever going to be like,
Yeah.
you're the fucking man.
No, you're right. I know what you mean, but what I'm saying is, I think it's
a gamble.
It's easy to just say, I'll take the job. Like, I'll just take a job. I'll go to school.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I'll be part of the system. I'm like, it's so against that grain, and it's like you're really throwing it all. You're
Well, what
putting
you're
all
really
the chips in the
risking
deck.
is you're
and-
risking more than anything is having a comfortable adult life. You know, that's why you meet like a 40-year-old guy with roommates, and you're like, Jesus Christ, man, how do you do it?
petrifies the hell out of me because I
But
have a
I
girlfriend.
think
I have a
you're
girlfriend who's
already-
been with me since before I was that guy. I was in university and I was going to be another person, and now I pivoted and we've changed. We've been together 5 years, and it's tough, you know. I don't want to. That's why it's like there's pressure to succeed. 'Cause it's like, fuck, I don't want to put her through shit, you know, and drag her into it with me.
I'll tell you what, I do have to go pretty soon.
Yeah, I know. We're coming up on an hour. We'll wrap it about an hour and change right about now. It's all good. What time is it?
It's 7.
Okay, yeah.
I
We'll get going soon then.
I'll get like a sore or something. Like I'll get like a thing on my toe. My toe, it'll be irritated, but I'll think it's infected, and then I'll imagine that just through like some kind of horrible luck that I have to lose a leg, and then I'll literally start thinking about what my act would be like if I had one leg.
Yeah.
Like I start thinking about jokes. that
I'm
I would
just
tell.
thinking about. I've never had a sore on my toe in my life. That's all. I'm just. I'm wrapped
You
up
never
on
got
that
a
detail.
blister from your soccer
I don't
boots?
even call it a sore. Calling it a sore makes it sound like you're a leper.
Yeah.
You have a sore on your fucking foot? Who are you, a freak? Blister? No, blister's sexy. You're an athlete. If you have a sore, you're fucking decrepit. You're practically on the street. What are you talking about? A sore on your foot. It's a great analogy. Thank you. But, you know, well, you've made your point very clear. Thank you, Andy Haynes.
Well, shit. I mean, I really got to worry about. I like how you Italian people. You really. It's
You
self-conscious.
Italian
Yeah.
people.
It's self-conscious in a way that's really, I actually think, productive. It's like you don't call it a sore. What's wrong?
You want to
with
be,
you?
yeah, it's almost like,
You want people to think you're dirty?
yeah, it's like just the fear of shame, just the shame that comes with anything negative. It's just weird. Yeah.
I love how clean you are as a society. You're all very
it's
well kept.
driving me nuts. We're wearing shoes in your place right now.
It's a hotel room. You take your shoes off in a hotel?
No, I bring slippers and then I wash them when I get back, or I throw them out. Come on, what the fuck?
Oh, you
think
got
this-
covers on your couch?
You think this is? No, come on.
Okay.
No. Well, there's a blanket on the one that the dog goes on because we can't let the dog go on the couch
Yeah,
itself.
that makes
It's
sense.
fair.
I can't believe you have a dog.
Barely a dog. He's a poodle bichon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
It's like a princess.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a princess.
Yeah.
He's a princess.
I get that.
Yeah, no. Dogs I don't know.
Well, thank you for showing me around Montreal.
No, anyway,
I had a blast.
I'm glad we were able to do this, man. I'm glad we were able to do this. Yeah. So what are you doing right now? Do you have a pod as well? What's going on?
I have a pod that's about to drop, but it's not
the one
out yet.
You're not doing one with Rosebud anymore?
No, we stopped doing that when she got hired at SNL. We had to take a break. Actually, I think the podcast that you were at that we did, I don't know if you watched. That was our very last podcast.
No, I took off. I was at the one before, and then we had to run. I saw you guys just in the beginning. That was your last one ever?
That was the last one ever, and I don't think we have much interest in reigniting it. Not because we didn't have a fun time doing it, just because it's like it was too much of us doing stuff together. We were doing some of the road together. We were living together. We were doing a podcast together. It was just a lot. So now we have some space.
A lot pretty quickly too, a couple years in. Yeah.
And so I'm doing a podcast with my buddy named Wilfred Padua. It's going to be dropping sometime in April. That'll be on all my socials, but mainly just doing the road right now. I'm just touring in Montreal this weekend, obviously. I'm going to be in Atlantic City, Denver, DC, Philly, Calgary. I'm going to do some European dates over the summer. I'm going to be down in Austin, Texas in August. So just kind of filling up the calendar with road dates.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I appreciate you coming by. Listeners, get at us on all platforms. It's at Calcio Podcast. The live show in Montreal is in a couple of weeks. So check that out. Link will be in bio. Probably in the comments too. Check it out. We have a few seats left at the time of recording, so get at it. It will sell out, so just get at it right now. It's been on sale for a couple days. Fucking just
get at it.
Just get at it. Part of Giggle Fest, this thing we're doing in Montreal. But yeah, it's like really gonna be a standalone show. It's gonna be me with Giannoletti. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good hang. We're talking about some shit going on that weekend. We're gonna have Easter coming up, and it'll be a great time. So check that out. Till next time, we'll catch you next week. Much love to you all. Alla prossima. Ciao.